Hello champions, Russell Mays here for Kenra Professional. So I'm going to do a take on a razor bob today that gives me a lot of texture and a lot of variance to it and movement, but still maintains a really solid shape. So I'm going to start taking a natural or center section, whichever is the most predominant. If she's always parting her hair to one side, then that's where I'm going to start my parting from. This case, I'm just going to push all the hair where it wants to split. That's going to be my sectioning. From the crown, I'm going to go straight to the occipital bone, occipital straight to the center of the spine. So from here, I'm going to take my base section, which I'm going to lay the comb directly against the head. Where it leaves the head, I'm going straight to the mastoid, which is the bump right behind the head. I want to make sure that both of these are fairly even. A lot of times this section is going to be too thick, so I need to break it down. I will usually break this down into halves or thirds, depending upon how thick the hair is and how much detail I want to maintain. So on her, I'm going to section down into thirds. I want to make sure that this parting is parallel to my previous parting. That way I can use it as a guide for maintaining lengths on both sides. So the first section, I want to keep this as blunt as possible, but using a razor is going to give me a soft line and a soft edge. And I'm going to take that right up to the hairline. So I'm going to comb everything down, smooth from the parting, no tension with my fingers, right there at the hairline, slowly, delicately, gently up and down, straight across as best you can. So I'm going to continue that on to the right, comb everything down, no tension, just grasp, hold that for dear life. I don't want the razor pushing the hair out of my fingers at all. Gently lay the razor against the hair, a real nice smooth stroke, cut that as blunt as possible. If I have anything that hangs off, just pinch and cut, and I'm not worried about this line being absolutely perfect. I just want it soft and clean and fairly straight. Next section is 1/3 of what I did before. Take your time, make sure you get it right, pin that out of the way. Same on the other side. To keep a variance in texture and also to build up a lot of movement, at this section, I'm not going to cut it blunt like I did the first time. This section, I'm going to really go through and take a really long stroke with the razor. So I'll start in the middle, comb this clean from the root all the way through. There's my guide. Now I'm going to get the motor running for the razor, use the tip, and just take a really long, broad stroke across the entire section. These little hairs here, I'm not going to worry about. We'll worry about that later. Next section, get the motor running for the razor. On the left side of the head, I don't want to continue to cut from the left to the right. I want to cut from the center forward so that the movement matches on both sides. So to do that, I'm going to use the butt of the blade, keep my motion similar, and work that across. So following the next section, and I'm alternating blunt lines, as blunt as I can get with a razor, and then really textured lines. So it gives me a variance of movement. So now this section, since I did blunt last time, this section is going to be really, really textured. The larger the stroke I take with the razor, the softer the section is going to be, the more weight that I'm going to remove. So let the client's hair determine how large the stroke is going to be for how much weight removal you want to have. One of the dangers that you run into when you're razor cutting hair is once the hair starts to dry out, then it can make the hair get fuzzy because it damages the cuticle. So I want to maintain an even wetness from beginning to end of the haircut. So during the way, I'm using Daily Provisions, a nice light little leave-in that will help keep the hair in even wetness, but also give the blade a nice glide across the hair so it doesn't damage the cuticle as much. Keeping this parallel to what I've done before, I'm actually going to curve the section around. So that way I keep the section parallel so I know it's going to be the same on the other side. One thing I got to watch out for is I have a tendency of drawing a straight line, which is going to end up going more vertical as opposed to horizontal, and then I throw my line completely off. So again, curve around the head, keep that as parallel as possible. When I go to apply the cut to the hair, the blade should very gently rest on the hair and just the movement cuts it. I don't force it through. If I find myself having to force the razor to cut the hair, it's a dull blade and I need to replace it. Now the last section, I'm going to pull all the hair back and go off of our natural part or wherever she wants to part it. Thing to keep in mind is the last section has to be a blunt section. I don't want it to be a wispy section because then I'm going to start to see the layering and the texture that I'm putting in it on the surface layer. I want to still maintain a solid blunt appearance, but with inner texture to it. So this last section has to be blunt. So when we cut the bangs, you'll notice on the second section that I elevated everything. The first section I took straight across, and that gives me my basic guide length, and I see exactly where it's going to hit on the forehead, on the eyebrows. The second section, I don't want it to hang longer, I don't want it to hang shorter, I want it to kind of bevel. So in order to cut a curved line, I'm going to hold it off what's called peak curvature of the head. And that starts to curve my line so it doesn't give me such a solid blunt shape. Combined with the razor, really melts everything in together and allows these pieces to separate and become more visible. Here's our end result. We've got a solid line, but we've got all this texture built through it in layers so it doesn't completely destroy the shape by razoring it, but it gives it a lot of movement and you can see those pieces separate. Razor cutting is an acquired skill and it just takes a little bit of practice to gain some confidence at it. So just practice, make it your own, add it to your repertoire, and it will be something you can really rely on when you've got something that's really thick or you need a lot of texture. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of our future educational content, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.